Okay, today we're going to look at index number. Okay, so this index number, what it indicates is the level of certain phenomenon uh, at a given time or place in comparison with the level of same phenomenon at some standard time or place or other characteristics. Index number hi thil danglam differences measure nani to groups of related variables mo atluk puya kha variable atluk puya kha va compare nani to. So these differences may have to do with the price of commodity or the physical quantities of goods produced, marketed, consumed, or such concepts as intelligence ponite, beauty ponite, efficiency ponite, price bungraman ponite mo chuanin bungrazat emo a physical quantity emo tekha ani the ni definition sang om the ani heng hi tlang puya definition karon tarlan chunia chuanin there are certain attributes of what an index number entails on the basis of what we're studying or the analysis of various definition of index number. It has these following characteristics. These are the major characteristics that an index numbers are apparent, and this can be expressed in numbers, specialized averages expressed in percentage, basis of comparison te chuan relative measure te ni chuanin express in numbers kan tia hianin index number to it represents the relative changes such as production is increased, prices are down. That is example, those are some example, and these are presented in numbers mo a number in an express ani so panni na chon specialized averages kan ti hinia so to a special case of average kan ti and then mean average ta ka chu in sheve ka nga heta hian special average ati chu weighted average khani ta ni hetiang special average ati na chan pakhat chu simple average kha chuan data re reng kha homogeneous aninga in ang mo having the same unit of measurement teninga the averages of variables have specialized average kan tia chuan the average have different units of measurement ani. Okay, then another characteristic of index number is expressed in percentage. In this, index number are expressed in terms of percentage as to show the extent of relative change to relative changes kanti kan production lo ni ta se production ve thau tinani mo a variable om ve chu relative change om kha chu he percentage kan ti hi kan mu tamber chu ni ta heta hianin basically the relative change a base atan khan 100 kan manga chuan khata chang khan a percentage kha the sign of percentage assign kha kan mang lem lo ta ni but we know that it is expressed in percentage and there is a basis of comparison by nature ani phung tak taka chuan index number hi chu comparison ani mo comparative nature ne nia they on the basis of comparison they compare changes over time or they compare comparison can be made between places or categories. Okay, pangana chun relative measure. This measure changes which are not capable of direct measurement or some taka direct taka va ti thailawa kha a relative change in atuk pui comparison nei khanin kan entani to heng hi atlang pui chu characteristic of index number chunita chuanin we're going to look at the importance of index number. So the primary purpose of index number is to measure relative temporal or cross-sectional changes in variable or group of related variables which are not capable of being directly measured. Mo thil direct taga kanwa compare thelo akha index number kan mang tinani tara. So the greatest purpose of index number has been to measure and compare changes in prices and purchasing power of money, which have received great attention to economists for many years. So this mechanism of index number, index number aron man chân na nia lang chu 1764 lai khan Italian statistician Carli anti hian. He used this for measuring price changes. Thil man dang lama kha atan kha naron mang chan ta tuna po hian price change atan ringot mang lawin kan man na tam tak chu factor sang internan wages te employment te production te ma trade te demand supply business te industrial activity le economic condition te poni se financial problem te poni se hi index number kan mang factor ta ni ma chuanin heta kan man na tlang pui kan ron tar lan pakhat na simplified data ti te comparative ti te khan enta ila point pakhat na simplified data kan en chuan poi mo ani tro index number. It provides a means of simplifying data that is used of reducing complex aming tang ringat po khan asiat me ya complex forma thil omre reng kha simplify theyang bera kanwa data kanwa present na kha mo kha which this reflect the changes in variable. So panina jong comparative study atana nita he index number mang hianin time po lo niang chu space po lo niang chu tro khatyang khanin index number kan lo mang thin ta ni chuanin pathumna ja measuring purchasing power of money dia index number a hianin hi wholesale price index kan ti khani ta ni wholesale price index ti kha an ti chuak thina tro data kha hianin purchasing power of money kha tilang ta ni chuan he purchasing power of money kan ti index ina ti lan tum chu economic setup kha adin hunna kha economic setup kha kha economy ya khan atilang ve ni mo a purchasing power of money hian chuanin palina chuan it reveals trends and tendencies satya index number it reveals trends and tendencies so it is used for forecasting forecasting the future economic trends atan khan he index number here kan mangani tro so he tuna kan din mun ringot nilawin nakina enge inflation om theidonem deflation te om theidonem ti atana an man tlang pui ani chuanin useful in deflating anita it helps in finding deflating ati khan ati lan tum tak so real income of people khamo index number mang khan kan lo sa theita ni chuanin changing cost of living index atita index number hi cost of living ti kha consumer price index inati lan tum khani tani indu chan change in cost of living / consumer price index number poti wala apoi lawa purchasing power akhan wholesale price index number kha kan familiar chu nitani tro so this shows change in cost of living or consumer price index number khana tilan tumber chu the cost of living of different groups of people mo kha atilan tum chu nitani chuanin next one it provides guidelines to economic policy atita so index number hian economic it is used to determine, for example, dearness allowance kan ti te bonus te company chuan mo this is used to increase the cost increase or decrease the cost of living index chuan in index number production lo nita se and sales the various commodities are used to study the progress of general industrialization of the country te nita chuan in chu mai baka investment index te om leya hey hianin it gives an idea about the stock market. Okay, it provides guidelines to economic policy ati khang index kan lo nei khan entinge economy kha kalzelang entinge economy kha a hwai theyang mo kha index sang adin mun po khatilang ani tro so it makes various policy maker to make decision based on this index. Okay, then there is national income. The index number of business conditions, it measures the changes in the general economic activity of the country and give an idea about the fluctuation in the real national income. Okay, so we have essential control by the government kan tia heta hi chuan government khan entinang kan economy anga polo ni ta se government khanin price a control du chang po kha thei ta tro price sang no tukte chuanin investment ti chung changa te income generate chung changa te employment te trade te consumption te khang zong kha index number mang khanin decision siamani government khan control dan turte atam lu tu ka mo tem lu tu ka mo economy na mo da na zerzel khan index mang khan government khan decision siam velzelani me ba ka universal utility ate universal utility hi chuanin economics so ni lo mo economic subject so ni lo sociology te commerce te psychology te medical science hey educational research organization te LIC te mo heng ho te po hianin field sang ani chu economics so in nilaw in universal applicability kha omani he index number hian te kha to these are the various importance of index number. And in the next topic, we're going to discuss the steps or the points to remember while constructing index number or the problems or the main steps in construction of index number. So these are the steps involved in construction of index number. We have to follow these steps in order to construct an index number. First is we have to know the purpose of index number. The steps which are taken in the construction of index number, it generally depends on the purpose of the index number. So the purpose of an index number must be defined clearly and precisely. So without the precise formulation of the purpose, it may be impossible to know how to carry out properly the steps involved in construction of index. For example, a purpose the purpose of entering general index number of wholesale price here we have to know the general price level. General price level. So the purpose of consumer price index it is to give an idea of the effect of change in the retail prices on the cost of living of classes of people. Price index, consumer price index kanti don chuanin a idea to it is to show the effect of change in prices on the cost of living of people. Kani data ni kaka a purpose in index number kan ti kha chuan kan thrial chian em angai ni tero chuan in panina chuan selection of base year he poimo em ani base year base period of index number is the period of time against which the comparisons are made. Base year kan nei ngai ni. So here base year there are mainly three types. One is fixed base, single period nga. So panhina chon fixed base on average of selected periods. Chuan pathumna chain base ti kham ta ni. Heng base kan select lai hian decision has to be made as to whether we have a fixed base or a chain base. Fixed base nge kan man don chain base ti kha kan chiang tu ra ni chu the base period must be a normal period. When we select this base period when constructing index number, it must be a normal period. A normal period ti la kum khat kha han base year khan la tai la normal period kan ti hian period which is free from abnormalities mo entirnan in do lai te ni lo se in do kumama price te kha consumer price index kan construct don chuan in do kuma price te kha thang ta lawila mo chu mai ba ka financial crisis online mo recession online price te thang ta lawila chuan chu mai ba ka hey natural calamities kan ti ang chi floods online te tram online te earthquake online te khatiang la general price kha kan than don chana dik thei don lo te ro chu wangin kan base year kha what we have to remember when we select it, it must be a normal period. Okay, so panhina kan thriat reng tur chu base year kan select lai khan it should not be too distant in the past. Entinan tungkum consumer price index kha lo chu du tal a base year kan 2000 te nami te kha aman kha base year khan va select ta ila mo ani chuanin khami kumso min ka lai kha akal to ta ni thilman kha ein thlau to viaw ani tro sang hi so ma thilman le tuntuma thilman kha ni chon it will not be that accurate tro chu wangin the base period must not be too distant in the past. Kum som thum liam ta a thil man te kan man kha chuan dik thei don lo ni taro chuanin kan thret le tur chu base year kan select hian it should be a period for which reliable figures are available. Data pa ngai tak om kum kha kan la ve don ni taro khatang kan select lo kha chuanin kan index number kha reliable don lo ni. Okay, then heng comparison kan siam lai hian entinan year to year a system of if this is made in a chain base there is no fixed base for comparing the values of subsequent years, but the value of each year is compared with the value of the preceding year. The chain base chuan akum hasa mi neng khana compare zel meya kha chu problem chuang lo ta ni chuan pathumna chuan when constructing index number we have to remember that selection of commodities kha kan enturani chu pakhatna chuan first problem in selection of commodities because it is not feasible to include all commodities in their number. Index number khan engkim kha kan tel vek thelo ni and then consumer price index retail price til dora engkim kha han tel don tala boy thak don tani. So the purpose of index number shall help in deciding the number of commodities. Commodity kan than azir khani dona. So and then in a general index number, we may require a large number of commodities. Then kan clear sang thiam turani mo. So in commodities can select like we have to look at what are the commodities that are to be included. A careful selection of commodities must be made in such a way that it represents real habits, taste and customs of people. It must be easily recognizable, describable. It should be of standard quality, and there must be no significant variation in the quality. And it should not be a non-tangible commodity such as personal service. And then in a tho ang te chuat no a muni phia te kha tiang personal service ang chi kha chu atel thei don lo ta ni chu wangin commodity kan select like kan film khur via ngai ni. So and the second is we have to classify our commodity. Sometimes and then a cost of living index we classify the selected commodities in different groups. And then food, clothing and footwear, the fuel and lighting, house rent and miscellaneous. The kan attention tendi commodities kan tension thiam viau ngai ni. So pelina so selection of representative prices there. In a collection of price quotations, we have to consider some points. Okay, quoting prices of commodities, money price nge quantity price, whether it's a wholesale price or retail price. The place from where the quotation are to be wholesale price are to be obtained from wholesale dealers or stores or a price kan thana kha kan ria chia na ngai ni taro retail price in nge kan chu dona wholesale price in ti ta thleng khan sia ta ngai ni chuanin system of weighting atia next ya chuan weight kan ti hian it refers to the relative importance of different commodities included in a construction of index number. More weight and weighting kan ti kha pakhata chuan implicit method le explicit method in weight assign theya. Implicit method ta chuan certain types of commodity under study are used. So in explicit, weights are laid down on the basis of some outward evidence of importance of commodities. Okay, then next we have selection of averages. To find composite index number, we can use any averages such as arithmetic mean, geometric mean, harmonic, median, so the use of average depends on the relative merits and demerits of various averages. The average may be weighted or unweighted. Okay, then we can have a comparative study of these averages. Arithmetic te geometric mean te kha chu in shet ve ka wang khan and soitam lo ta la. Then we have selection of suitable formula. Khang zong kan ti vector nuwa khan a purpose kan define a base year kan select a commodity kan select a price kan thanga a weighting le averages kan ti vector nuwa khan. Lastly, we need to have a suitable formula to represent our index number. So there are various index number formula that we can discuss later on. Formula appropriate beraka kan mang turani. Okay, so that is the various steps in constructing index number. Then in our next topic we have types of index number as written in N1: wholesale price index, cost of living price index, quantity value index te khang thang ho khan itani. So in this price index te simple index, weighted index te khang omtani, wholesale price te consumer price, cost of living price te khanita khang chu in the and menga. So the methods of constructing index number, I've given you this slide, representative of various methods of computation of various types of index number. Single commodity and each one we can use fixed base and chain base. More for group of commodities and each one we can use simple and weighted. And in simple and weighted, we can use a simple average of relative method, simple aggregative method, fixed base, chain base, and so on. And for group methods, we have another way of calculating it, that is weighted. Akhanin weighted method kan ti hi. Kelly method te oma, Laspar method te, Pache method te, Edgeworth. Dorbish, Bowley, Fisher index ti teka omtani chuanin tu mai baka chuan cost of living index kha simple method ti khatania group commodities are thau so weight average of relative method or family budget method kan ti mangin le weighted aggregative method or aggregative expenditure method kha kan mangdon tinani. Okay, so these are the ways of calculating, methods of constructing index number. Okay. Chuanin heta hian fixed base ti kha in hunga masa khan fixed base ti kha in hunga tra heta fixed base and tinge he method a hian kan calculate ti chuan on the basis of base year's price. Two method or fixed single year base, the multi year average base method that's one in a formula to index number of price relative to P1 into 100 by PO kanitani. Heta hian P1 kan ti price of current year for which the index number is calculated. Ani chuan tungkuma index number kha kan endon chuan tungkuma price kha ani don ta chuan PO kan ti he chu a base year tuna internal sound hi som pa nga te kha lo la tai la base year tan khan kha PO kha lo ni me don ni. Okay, kami formula can apply kan index number to kan huthai don ni. Okay, so this is an example of how to calculate the fixed base year index number. Okay, a formula ka P1 into 100 by PO kan ya. So in illustration 1 I can calculate price relative simple index based on 1988 for all the years from the following data. 1988 ka base year mang tinani. Okay, so let's look at the solution. And we constructed a table. The first column is year, second is price, third is we use the formula, right? And the last is the index number. And that thing katahan index number launita dikha tilang tani. So hetia en may hian in low NCR nga tikan formula in no meang. Okay, apart from that, fixed single year fixed base method niya next up so multi-year average base method kakan nile heta hian normal year is not selected easily normal year so wangin average price of few year is taken as base year and this average price is denoted by PA. Here formula here P1 into 100 by PA average price of few years di kanita ni chuanin hei hi a question to nita illustration panina kanin multi-year average base method kanita ni hei chu a formula har lau tara heng ho chu simple te anita ti kanin hetiang hian index number for the current year khatita ni chu heta kan set tur chu PA kha kan zon ngai ta ni chu average price tita that is the period from 1992 to 1995 kha alata ni tara chuanin kha kumli kha ala khanin kamimang khan it calculated the current index number of this particular illustration. Okay, thì khan đâu en chiang ngồi lên sẽ thiam mẹ ngà har mẹ lâu nè